Welcome to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all over the place, backgrounds, faiths, places, dealing with addictions of all varieties, dealing with the different manifestations of alcoholism. RICO 12 is also a resource for the loved ones of addicts. I am Justin B. I'm a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery one day at a time. And I'm joined today around this virtual roundtable in Zoom from a couple of people from all over North America, David G. and Nikki M. And just like to have each of them come off mute and introduce themselves. Let's start with you, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Justin, for your service. Nikki, always so good to be with you, sister. Much love and respect. I'm David G. I'm alcoholic, addict of many sorts, recovered by the grace of God. Been given the gift of sobriety since August 8th of 1994, and truly, truly grateful to be here with my brother and sister today.
And we're happy to be here with you too, David. Nikki, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M. And according to my book, I'm supposed to identify as a member. I just read that with my sponsee today, that I'm a member of this program, many fellowships. I'm also an intelligent agent spearhead. And I'm just grateful to be at the table with two other spearheads, really my partners as I trudge this happy road of destiny. And it is. Get in here with us, you guys, and subscribe weekly, because this is a good place to be at this roundtable. Thank you.
And I am grateful to be one little member of this roundtable. I love learning from, sitting at the feet of David and Nikki and just learning from the big book and being just a small part of this. It's a awesome thing. So come join with us. So those who may be new to RICO 12, this is a deep dive into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're going line by line through the entire, first 164 pages. And right now we find ourselves in the chapter Into Action. We'll be reading the paragraph that says, "This thought brings us to step 10. And this paragraph is full of all sorts of nuggets, and I'm grateful to be recording this. We actually, a little inside baseball, we actually recorded this paragraph last week, or we talked about it, and I didn't hit record. So we're going to record it this week, and we're going to do it as if we never talked about it before and dive deep into it. So come join in, grab your big book, your highlighters, your pen, paper, anything to take notes, and get ready to learn and then get ready to take action. Okay, so I'm going to read once again, page 84. This thought brings us to step 10. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. So, David, why don't you lead us off here this week and take us through that paragraph and teach us a few things from your own experience, strength, and hope?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for your service, Justin. This is where I found myself at 25 years of sobriety, dying inside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, trying to live off of yesterday's miracle. Although I was clean and sober, I was sick in many other areas. And one of the things that I'd really never done was step 10, the way that the book calls for it to be done, what my brother Justin just read there a few minutes ago. Now, this is a very powerful, powerful step when it is used often. The thing that I find with most people is they don't use it. And so when I meet with a man, especially a man that has been in the fellowship for a long time, he's been sober for a while, but he's suffering in other areas, sexual acting out, love addiction, food addiction, gambling addiction, and he's been through the steps, and, he's had a miracle at one point, but his relationship with God is dry now. I always ask him, where are you at in steps 10 and 11? And invariably, they always tell me, Yeah, I do step 10. I'll admit when I'm wrong. Well, this is far more than just admitting that you're wrong. This is working steps 4 through 9 on a daily basis. And since 4 through 9 is what brought the awakening to begin with, it would only make sense that we would continue to do that throughout our day. So Justin read this thought, and the thought to me they're talking about is everything that we've done up to this point, especially in the amends process, as listed above on 84. It suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to, and the key words for me is to set right any new mistakes. There's a lot of old mistakes that I've made. I'm going to look at those things in inventory. I'm going to begin to clean that stuff up. But now I want to continue to set right any new mistakes as I go along. Saying I'm sorry, a sincere apology, yeah, absolutely. But that's not really what it's asking me to do here. It's asking me to set right the new mistakes. And for me, that's what amends is. It's making right the wrong. But we vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So as we clean up the past in the first 9 steps, as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we should be doing this from day one. If you go back and you read the history in the early days, and if you will look in AA Comes of Age, and Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, you will absolutely find that self-examination, prayer, and meditation started day one. And that's steps 10 and 11. And he says it right here. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We've entered the world of the spirit. This is after the amends process. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Now, I hear a lot of people in the program say these are the maintenance steps, but to me, it doesn't say that right there. To maintain something is to keep it the way it is, but that says that my next function is to grow, not maintain anything. To grow in understanding and effectiveness, this is not an overnight matter. So this one word, it, referring to understanding and effectiveness, should continue for my lifetime, and that's where I fell short all of those years. And so there's 5 things it's going to ask me to do daily. Number 1, watch. For selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, fear, and we add the word lust. I'm going to be watching for these thoughts as they come up. I'm not going to wait until they've come up. I've taken action on them and made a complete disaster out of my life and everybody else's. I'm going to be watching for this stuff way ahead of time now. And when these crop up, not if, when, they're definitely coming, trust me. Here's our prayer. We ask God at once, circle the word once, to remove them. Not after a while, not after I call my sponsor, not after I go to a meeting. No, I need to be asking God right then. One of the things that I do today is I watch for the things that kind of dances me around the edge of falling off in my thought life. You know, if I'm having trouble, if I go somewhere and there's an attractive lady or there's something there and that catches my eye, then I need to go to prayer. I need to be transparent with my wife right then and there. I need to be transparent with my sponsor. I need to bring this stuff out because I'm the kind of guy that can hold an image in my head for a long time to come and replay that over and over and over as the evening goes on. So I'm going to ask God at once to remove them. Now, that's exactly what we did in step 6 and 7. Now, if you notice, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Over on page 67, that was what we kind of did in quote unquote the 4th column. That's what we looked at there. It says we discuss them with someone and we circle the word immediately. That's step 5. We make amends. We circle this word quickly. That's steps 8 and 9. If we've harmed anyone, then we circle that word, turn our thoughts to someone we can help. I don't even have to help with someone. If I can, that's great, but it's not asking me to do that. It's asking me to turn my thoughts to someone I can help. So there's 5 things it's asking me to do. 1, watch. 2, ask. 3, discuss. 4, make amends. And 5, turn my thoughts. And if I can get in the habit of doing that on a daily basis over and over and over, and we have a WhatsApp group designed for men, and that's all we do all day long is we watch our thoughts, and we confess those to each other. We go through this process right here, and it's been very, very effective. So this paragraph here is what I call the maintenance paragraph. The next paragraph we're going to read is the rewards. The one after that is the warning paragraph. And the one at the very end of page 85, the last full paragraph, will be the promises. So maintenance, rewards, warning, promises. This is very powerful. If you get in the habit of doing this daily, I tell you, your emotional recovery will change immensely. Because before, I would never watch for these thoughts. They would come. I would take action based on them. I would end up in a whole lot of trouble and think, man, why did that happen to me? Why couldn't I? Well, I'm not watching. You're sleepwalking in the program. You know, if you're walking around thinking you're awake, but you're asleep, just look at your actions. That ought to tell the story. So this has been life-changing for me. Here, I've been able to really have a good relationship here at home with my wife, with my coworkers, with my brothers and sisters in recovery, with almost everybody I meet. Without step 10, I don't know where I'd be today. This is like breathing air for me. It's like taking on sunshine. I have to have step 10. It is that important in my life. So really grateful to be here, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Nikki, before I turn it over to you, I just want to make one real quick comment. This concept that David brought up of a 10th step group, like a texting messaging group, is something that I've also jumped on board with. And I've created my own 10th step group with my sponsees, the people that I work with directly, so that I keep it to a reasonable amount, a size, so there's not thousands of messages every day in that group. But I invite anybody out there who is working their 10th step to create something like this. It's a fantastic, powerful way to continue to watch and keep my eyes open for those things, not in a fearful way, but in an observant way, so that it doesn't dominate me. All right, Nikki, let's go over here and have you go through this paragraph and share with us your experience, strength, and hope on it.
Well, thank you. And David, thank you so much for going through that. I was drifting off because the last episode we did that wasn't recorded was awesome too. So I'm just so excited to be back and talking about the same subject. Also, Justin, what you said, thank you. My sponsees, and I've got so many, send me a step 10 and I say the same exact thing, make a group. Because then I'll be reading step 10s all day. I mean, that's all I do is sponsor. Anyway, into this good stuff. You know, let's read step 10, though. It says, step 10 says, continued to take personal inventory. And when wrong, we promptly admit it. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do here, right? So in my book, where we were, 84, this thought brings us to step 10, and I just read it, which suggests to continue. And continue is a process. It's not an event. This is a process that David said, and I love what David said. You do it every day, and you start from the beginning. And you take personal inventory. Personal inventory is a step 4 every day. You know, David said the step 10 is steps 4 through 9, but I'm going to go deeper and even say it's really step 10 is doing your steps 1 through 9 all damn day. Because in order to do steps 4 through 9, I have to admit I'm powerless. I have to believe that this power is going to drag me from this crazy mind of mine into the great reality. And I got to make a decision to be a member. That will lead me into the rest. So every day I have to see where I'm at fault. Where am I to blame? Doesn't say what's my part. And then I continue. Again, it's a process every day to set right any new mistakes. So I'm always sweeping up my mess every day from day one. And I love what it says, as we go along. These are key words. As, not once, not when, as we go along. And I love this line. I think this is one of my favorite lines because I'm in the rooms and I had a sponsor do this to me. I'm not going to move you to step 10 until you make some amends, Nikki. I wasn't in the spirit world. I just entered it. I still hated my baby daddy number 2 and I had all these resentments, but my sponsor was telling me to go make these amends or I couldn't move on to step 10, 11, and 12. Has anyone else heard that in the rooms? I almost died because that's not what the book says. It says we vigorously, with vigor. I have to commence. I have to start living this way of life. See, this is a lifestyle. As, again, there's that key word, and mine is starred, highlighted, and squared. as we clean up the past, not once, not when you make five amends because your sponsor told you to. See, my sponsor never told me to go out and make an amends. He said, go and create your own 100, Nikki. See, I have to vigorously commence this way of living as I cleaned up the past because I've just entered the world of the spirit. And it says my next function, it's not to run out and make insincere amends. My next function is to grow in understanding, or if you're part of my Rasta community, overstanding and effectiveness. See, I'm to grow in overstanding, understanding, so I can make the amends. This is not an overnight matter. See, I have to be here for a lifetime, living this lifestyle for a lifetime. I have to watch, and I love the way, David went through that so great. I have to watch for these things. I'm a watcher. David said that I am a thought watcher. That's in my notes from the last podcast. I'm a thought watcher too, David. That's what he does. That's what I do. And I know that's what Justin does. We watch our thoughts for these things. And it says when, not if. When these crop up, we ask God. It doesn't say call your sponsor. It doesn't say, Nikki, have a meltdown and do weird things. It says ask the spiritual principles. Remember, my sponsee's new. My sponsee hates God. So then sponsee asks the spiritual principles, ask responsibility, ask patience, ask love, because those things will remove your fear and your selfishness immediately, right? It will remove them. And you discuss them with somebody. But where I have somebody, I put BBS, Big Book Sponsor, PAA, properly appointed authority, immediately, fast, make amends quickly. And again, not a remorseful, I'm sorry. How about your behavior? Standing tall as God's people, demonstrating these principles will convince me more. And then I love what David said. We resolutely, and well, it's what the book says, turn. And I always use this scenario with my sponsees, like you're at work, you're on the factory line, you're with the baby, you're with your mother-in-law, you can't get out of it. You can't leave the situation. You have to turn your thoughts. This is all about your thought life. So you have to turn your thoughts, whatever you think you become. So turn your thoughts to someone, something, even yourself. We forgot who we are. Remember, I introduced myself as a spearhead. Turn your thoughts to being a spearhead. What would God have you be? And then love and tolerance of others is our code. I love that because I'm from Orange County, California, Anaheim. And I know about gangs. My mom worked in the LBC. And long story short, we are in a gang. We're in a gang of love. And these are my gang members in here. And love and tolerance is our code. And we don't turn the other cheek to get smacked on the other side. We turn the other cheek because that side is nice and cool. The other side is hot. We got to turn our thoughts, turn our cheeks to each other, and then get back into the spirit of the universe. I love this life. I need these reminders every damn day. Because guess what? I'm bad at doing a step 10 every night like you guys.
Love it. Thank you, Nikki. So, David, what I'd like to do here with you, rather than, ask a question based on something you said, well, it is kind of a question. What I'd like to do is have you give an example of what doing a 10th step looks like in your minute to minute life. If you're willing to share kind of what that looks like, I'd like to hear what it looks like in your 10 step group that you have going.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. And, just to reiterate, the 10th step is not a nightly process. And people say, yeah, it's a 10th step nightly review. No, it's not. Because if you look at page 86, we're now talking about step 11. That's the nightly review process, not step 10. Step 10 says this is something that we do all throughout the day. Every day is a day where we must carry the vision of God's, will into all of our activities. So by the grace of God, I'm not getting in trouble in bed at night with other women and shit. So I need a walking around step that can help me through the day. I just want to read a few of many, 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 many that have come in just today. Now, we don't get into a story. If we see lust coming, we don't talk about who it was and what she was wearing and how she looked and where she was at. I mean, we don't get into any of that. We look at exactly what the book says. Here was one on resentment. I've spotted resentment. I've asked God to remove it. Now I'm turning my thoughts to someone I can help. Now, if you look, he's covered all 5 of those areas right there. Starting with number 1, we watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. He spotted resentment. Number 2, he says, I've asked God to remove it. That's exactly what it says to do there on page 85. Now, he didn't make an amends because he didn't take action based on it. He caught the thought beforehand, and he went through this 5-formula process, and now he says, I'm turning my thoughts to someone I can help. That's all he did. I've spotted lust. I've asked God to remove it. I'm turning my thoughts to someone I can help. It's that simple. We want to stay out of the storyline of it because self loves the story. Now, here's the difference. The way this looks when you first start doing that, because I start guys from day one. I don't care how long you've been here. You need to be in the habit of watching your thoughts and being able to catch and turn. Because the process I go through, you don't go through in a week or 7 or 8 days. It takes a long time to move through that process. And so step 10 is going to hold you up, and step 11 as well, until you can get back to it. So what that looks like before you actually come to 10 and what that looks like after is going to be completely different. And so these are some of the things that, like this guy here, he says, I've spotted helplessness and fear. I've asked God to remove it. Now I'm turning my thoughts to someone I can help. Now he might be hopeless, but he's not helpless. So he's not seeing that correctly. And that's something I'll shoot him a message later and say, hey, we're hopeless but not helpless. There's a lot of things you can do for you that God's not going to do. But here's the one thing I tell those guys. If you get into a bind and you're in trouble, don't just send that out by text. Make the phone call and discuss it with someone immediately, because that's asking you to, that's something you're going to have to do, instead of just sending a text. I've seen a lot of guys get into trouble by continuing to send the text, and that mind just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. But, as far as my experience with that, this is exactly how we do it. We spot resentment. We ask God to remove it. We make amends if we need to. We're discussing it by sending the text. We turn our thoughts to someone we can help. And if you do that over and over and over, it helps you to stay emotionally healthy throughout the day. And that's what living in the spirit world's all about, is being emotionally healthy. So step 10 is a very, very powerful practice if used correctly and used often. Guys that don't, that gets to slacking on this, you've seen, Justin. I'll just remove them from the group. I don't even mess around with it. I'm not going to have you hanging around reading what everybody else sends out. And there again, we don't get into drama. We don't get into a whole lot of discussion about it. But that tells me, yes, they are watching their thoughts. And if they're hanging around reading everybody else's and not practicing it themselves, I'll remove them from the group immediately. So, it's just we want people who are really serious about doing the deal. Step 10 is a lifesaver. The word code, love and tolerance of others, is our code. That word just means principles. So it's just so powerful the way that this is laid out. It's something that I can't imagine not doing now. Now, I do an 11th step nightly review at night, as outlined on page 86 of the book, and we'll be coming up on that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's a very powerful way, and it's something that, man, I've seen it change so many lives. There's no way I'm going to turn from that. So anyway, the question.
And thank you, David, for walking through that. And Nikki, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in here before I turn it over to you again, because I had an experience today where all 4 of the things that are written there in the big book, selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, hit me at the same time. And what did I do? Man, I jumped in my 10th step group. And I thumbed that thing. Well, I paused. I asked God, hey, remove this from me. I thumbed it out in the group. And then I realized I'm still buzzing from this that I saw. So I reached out to two other guys. I called them and I was like, you know what? Here's what's happened. I need to go a little bit more in depth. Than I spotted resentment, fear, selfishness, and dishonesty. I needed to talk things through because I was buzzing. And and I tell you, what a beautiful process this is to continue to watch as I go through my day. And I've noticed that as I practice this, it becomes more of a working part of my mind, of my life, and I spot things way earlier than than otherwise. So it's an awesome process. I invite anybody out there to do that and get on it. All right, Nikki, what are as we went through this, talk to me a little bit more about. I loved your analogy of when someone smacks you in the cheek, you turn the other cheek, not so that they can, wallop you again, but because of this. Talk to us a little bit more about that concept and that love and tolerance of others as our code in that process.
All right. I have to love everyone in the rooms, is what this book says. So, and, I seek God. It says grow in effectiveness and understanding. And I love, a radical Jew named Jesus and many other spiritual teachers. And that's what I was listening to something about that when Jesus said, turn your other cheek. It's not because, to give someone the other side to smack. It's because the side that was smacked is really hot. So I need to turn away and get my cool side to these people. And I remember last podcast when we record this exact episode that wasn't recorded, we were talking about a situation that happened to me at the Ontario Regional Conference, where I've been there for 13 years in the rooms, and a guy who I know very well, he has it out for me. These things happen. Remember, we're all sick people helping sick people in the rooms. And I didn't go to hear a speaker. I was sitting there and I sat next to him. I've known him for years. And he goes, what's your sobriety date, Nikki? Well, that's not my program. And he knows it. But he has a real problem with me sponsoring alcoholics and drug addicts, that I'm not a drug addict or an alcoholic. I'm an addict. Yeah, you know my story. We can go into it later. But I had to demonstrate love and tolerance because instantly when he started on me that I'm hurting people and shouldn't be in the rooms. And I know the book. Of course, I have every right. I know Tradition 3 long form. We all have a right to be here. But I know my book. It's a working part of my mind. So I knew to discuss it with people. I was in a conference. I got, tears in my eyes and I was real scared, in fear. And then I remembered what my job is. See, love and tolerance is my code. This is my gang. I use that analogy. This is the next morning. Okay. It was Saturday that happened. On Sunday, I had the big F-bomb. I'm never going back. I'm out of 12-step. Forget these people. And then I remembered, right? Love and tolerance is my code. This is a working part of my mind. Perhaps the people who wrong me, Nikki, are spiritually sick. This guy is just exactly what David's described. He's in the rooms, 26 years dying. He sleeps with my newcomers. You understand, or tries to. And I think that's why a lot of people hate me, because I wake a lot of people up in the sex addiction area, and they don't get away with 13 stepping around my crew. Well, God's crew. And so I think when you say that, it's I've learned because I am seeking this power daily. It was just the last week I read that or watched. I like to watch little things on YouTube. And it was literally that, why do you turn the other cheek? Not to give them a side to smack, because that side is so cooled down. It's that part of me that is loving and tolerant. And I just love it here. You guys show me this. You demonstrate that for me. So I'm just grateful to learn it. And I don't do it perfectly. I do not do this perfectly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And that reminds me of something, man, I'm putting a lot in here, this episode here from personal experience. Yesterday, my wife let me know that she had a really rough interaction at work. And then she said, you know what? But later, after I cooled down, after I paused and went through this process, I was able to go back and talk to the person and speak for my anger rather than through my anger. And that turning the other cheek, she was able to talk through the cool side in saying what needed to be said without being angry. And I just found that really powerful. All right. So let's do a real quick takeaway. David, what's a takeaway that you have from our conversation?
Well, I just think love and tolerance of others is definitely our code, but it does not mean that I'm going to condone bad behavior in any way. I may turn my thoughts, but I'm not turning my cheek. If you hit me in my face, you might want to be backing up, because I'm not spiritual enough yet to walk away and say, okay, brother, no worries, do it again on this side. No, I'm not there yet, and I just, there's so many things that I see today that I've learned through my experience. I don't trust everybody that's in the rooms today. I do have love for them. I do have tolerance for them, but there's things that I stay away from. There's boundaries that I've set for me. There's boundaries that I've set for them. And I've just found it more of a way of life now. It's something that I can do when I'm at work, whenever I'm, driving my truck, when I'm on a route. I do it whenever I'm in the rooms. I do it whenever I'm home. I've learned to pause. I've learned to do these things, and it just keeps me healthy and serene, and it keeps me, growing close. And, and I have to make amends often. I do, for things that I might have said, or the way that I said it sometimes is a big one. I don't always apologize for what I said, but the way I say it can come off very badly. And so, if there's any one thing that I would take away from this, absolutely practice love and tolerance, but we do not have to condone bad behavior in here unless somebody run over the top of us. I know that from personal experience. I used to do it to people all the time. And if someone would have shut me down on that a whole lot earlier, I think it would have quit. I really do. So it's not healthy for either party to do that. Love and tolerance, but absolutely no bullshit. So I'm super, super glad to be here. Thank you, Justin.
Conversation.
Oh, I think my internet froze, of course. One of those days you popped in, popped out. So my takeaway at the top of my book, I have two real quick, is a song, because I like to play musical trivia here. It's like, check it yourself before you wreck yourself. This is what step 10 is. It's chickity check yourself before you wreck yourself. No, I'm not a singer, but my real takeaway is I'm a watcher. I'm a watcher. And years ago, they had this thing that the kids were doing. It was called planking. Then they had aloing, and you could do in these positions, and the kids would sit. It was really this like trending thing. But I like to think of a watcher like I'm one of those gargoyles sitting and just watching everything all day long and making sure that I stay in the direction of love. This is so radical. Thank you.
My takeaway, saying this, and it just reiterated itself. This concept of turning my thoughts to being to someone we can help. Turning my thoughts to that. In my mind, that means be where my feet are. If I'm at work and I get resentful, a really good way that I can turn my thoughts and help somebody is to be where my feet are and go, okay, I'm back at work. I'm here to serve my boss. I'm here to serve the customer. I'm here to serve, to bring home a paycheck for my family. I need to be focused on where I'm at. And if I catch it soon enough, my feet aren't going to be where they're not supposed to be. So I don't have to bring them back. I can just be where my feet are and not worry about anything else outside of where I am at that time. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, David. Thank you, Nikki, for this amazing conversation and dive through the 10th step process. And I look forward to getting into the promises, the rewards, the warning, and the rewards, the warning, and the promises here in the next couple of episodes. So everybody keep coming back. Let's keep diving into this 10th step and into getting into action. Work it. You are worth it.